Hi, this is Juliet Loves Beginning, and today I got the invitation to question the I'm tired narrative. It's one that has come up to the surface as disturbing. Um, it seems funny to say that, like the I'm tired narrative, whenever that seems to appear as disturbing, but it seems like, at least from this perspective, I've cleared a lot of stuff out of the way. So now when this I'm tired message comes up, it feels like a big lie. But I'm used to thinking of, and so therefore it feels very disturbing. I'm used to thinking of it as a biological function and justified and connected to, things I did that day or this or that. And also like the invitation of the nap or just going to bed. And something about that is shifting. And it's interesting to me to go down into the layers and to see who you think is responsible for you being tired. Like, I wish the kids would just go to sleep. I'm tired, that sort of thing. It's a pushing away thing. So that's one of the areas in my life I've been invited to look at. Something that wasn't at all disturbing before, it seemed perfectly normal. And now it seems to be disturbing. It seems like, I guess, thinking around this issue is going to change because I'm disturbed by it, and I wasn't before. I think I had too many other things pile up on top of it to realize that. So that's where I am with that. Just poking that I feel tired when the feeling's there, but just to look at the perception and to do the usual thing with seeing what thoughts are attached to it, seeing how the thoughts feel, agreeing to let them go if they aren't true, and agreeing to allow them to be replaced. So, what this really brings into focus for me is it's not about the action or the activity, it's about the thinking. And so the action and the activity doesn't really matter. It's how do I feel? And if I don't feel good about something, it's time for the thinking to change. The other thing that's come into focus around this idea, around this like particular phase of my mind healing, is just that it truly is our thoughts that make what we're experiencing, and that it is something I made up if I'm experiencing it. It's like the buck stops here, bringing it all home. Um, the other thing that's becoming very clear is what peace is not about conditions at all. The peace is just there all the time, always accessible. And the interesting thing to see is in this, what seems to be a journey through time of healing, it's like I've been encouraged to dip my toe into peace and dip my toe in and or sit in it for a minute. And then I get to the point where I'm asking, why would I not just stay here? And then now I can see what pulls me away, what tempts me to go elsewhere outside of what I would call this experience of peace, this experience of willingness to allow the perception um, to come from inspiration rather than uh, stress and pain, and the idea of a personality, and the idea of other personalities. Um, so, what's really coming into focus for me, I lost my train of thought. We'll see if it comes back, is that I choose to leave this piece all the time. And what could tempt me out of it? Well, what tempts me out of it is thinking I'm in charge of enacting the role of the body who is a mother, the body who is a daughter, or the body who is on Facebook, even, deciding to control what that character does for a perceived benefit, for pleasure of a separate one, I would call me, or for satisfaction, or for security in the idea of control. So, just like in another video, I think I said, instead of when I feel frustrated thinking I need space from people, I can ask for instead of the spaciousness of shared identity. In that same way, I can ask for instead of trying to go after the security of controlling a life and controlling the roles and deciding, like all throughout the day, deciding what the character does and enacting those decisions, this whole fantasy, um, I I believe I get security from that. So instead of the temptation of leaving the piece to reach for this perceived security of enacting the role, I can ask instead to get assistance in staying in the true security, not the fantasy security that I'm accustomed to, the true security of true identity, of shared identity. And it's become all about just staying in the calm spot and staying in the sane spot. And anytime I'm being reactive to anything out there, which is still quite often, I can see pretty quickly that I've left I've left what I am perceptually, and I'm caught up in all these ideas. And another thing that I could see today is that the egoic thoughts don't hang together so well anymore. Um, you'll have a thought that's connected to another thought that's connected to another thought, and they all depend on each other because there's a logical progression. It seems like the habit of bringing the thoughts to the light and allowing the light to shine through the thoughts and being willing to let any thought go that's not for the benefit of all. Seems like that practice has come to the point where the egoic thoughts that used to kind of hang together nicely from the ego's perspective, be logical and of a package and used in supporting the enacting of a role, they don't hang together anymore. they they're falling apart. They don't necessarily form a structure that I would stand on or use or depend on. They come into awareness and I seem to use them and then realize that they're painful and then need to stop and realize all these thoughts are interconnected and none of them are true. If I could think of an example, I would give you one. We'll see if one pops into focus for me. But I recall walking down the street with my dad and realizing all these thoughts and assumptions I'm having about what I'm seeing here in this neighborhood. None of them hang together. None of them mean anything. But it doesn't mean that I can't be in this experience of walking down the street. And it doesn't mean that I can't be helpful within this experience of walking down the street. So I guess a lot of that fear of, you need a world you understand and that's supported by all these logical thoughts, knowledge about the world in order to act acceptably in the world or act in the world in a way that'll make your role comfortable for you. A lot of that's falling apart and everything's still okay. So that's reassuring to know that as we let the structure of false thought fall apart, we're sitting in the true foundation where everything is still okay. Um, and things being the way we're used to them being, it, it doesn't mean that's everything's still okay. That's what the ego would say. A lot of us probably have had changes in our what's normal, our daily experience because of this worldwide experience that we're calling pandemic. Um, so it's probably brought changes to a lot of people. In my case, my life is pretty much exactly the same. So not a lot of change there, but a lot of opportunity to see what I'm perceiving outside of me and to see what I'm perceiving in the world and to see if any of that brings disturbance and, do the usual routine of letting the thoughts surface and being willing to let the ones that are false go. And the ones that are false, it's most of them. Maybe it's all of them. It seems like when I get into the space where I'm just following guidance, it's really obvious. It doesn't require any intellect to just follow inspiration when inspiration is there. It just doesn't require anything of the personality. Personality is not even needed. But so that is so easy and obvious. And my invitation there again is, well, then why are you not in this setting all of the time, all of your perceived minutes? It's because I still think I can find security somewhere else. But to see the structure of all that falling apart is, it's reassuring in a way, because there's this sense of the true foundation. Our true foundation is shared identity. That's not going anywhere. That can't go anywhere. And that's there for us. And it's remarkable that that would mean that the happenings of life don't matter, and what the personality wants doesn't seem to matter. And when I can see that, um, it's very reassuring. What would need to be reassured, there's still that thing there that seems to need to be reassured. But there's increased willingness and faith and trust that the thing that we are, the oneness that we are, truly does take care of everything, and more of a willingness to allow that to take over. And it's so wonderful not to need to have an opinion about anything. I love that. It's really, really beautiful not to need to have an opinion. Um, and okay, I think what I wanted to say before is, when I'm in guidance, and it seems maybe like I'm being guided by true thoughts. So that seems very clear and easy. But there's something beyond that that I think people call the flow. That's a state of no thought. And I think I think that's also available to us too. I mean, how it's been described to me all along is that I'm willing to allow false thought to go. I'm willing to allow true thought to replace that. And that causes this change in perception that is shareable with everybody, and helpful for everybody, mind to mind. Um, but it does seem more and more that there's also an invitation to the flow, which is not a thought state. It's a no thought state. So it's like, instead of just following true thoughts, a personality following true thoughts, in the flow, there is no personality. And that, I'm a little hesitant to say, well, this state's better than that state. Let's run after that state, because that's more of the the egoic perspective on things. But that's the best way I can put it right now, is that to allow that state of no thought and no personality, seems like much less of a threat, because I'm experiencing that it's fine. It's the most helpful state I could be in. So I hope you are enjoying your weekend, and thanks for joining in with me.